And of course, the big hope that we turn around here is the Statue of Liberty. And again, I'm going to mention that the special exhibit we have, which is again meant to provoke questions, thoughts, and that is the bigger context. This was a tough experience coming over for some. We did not come back. Now, this next break, so to speak, I'm going to ask you to imagine you just arrived as you were coming off the gate. What are your feelings as you first arrived? Some of you may have ancestors who came over that period, I don't know. Later. We usually quite a few. This one? This is the pink triangle. Why do we have triangles? My mother said it has it. Yellow star. Feelings as you come arriving.
It's fantastic, isn't it? You're wonderful.
Sorry?
You're wonderful, she says.
Oh,
this is the best tour I've had here.
Oh, thank you.
And I've come with many children, so very wonderful.
All right, you've just arrived, you've just come down the gangplank. What sort of feelings? What do you have?
Fear.
Fear. Excitement.
Probably excitement. Probably wanting something better than you've had before.
Wanting
Otherwise, you
something
wouldn't be coming.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And that journey was so awful and you felt so seasick. Yeah. What else? Any other feelings?
Freedom.
Yeah, freedom. And dry land. Freedom. New country. Yeah. So it's a real mix of feelings. As you arrive. As I guess immigrants always do. I'm an immigrant, I've been through this too. And even if you come without too much difficulty with the language, there was some difficulty with the language, I don't know if you noticed. But even if you more or less speak the language, it's a new country, it's a different country, it's going to be a culture shock. We often follow the story of one particular person because it's easier to do that. And I'm going to, her picture is up here. I think she's on the third one. So you're arriving here. She's arriving. She arrives at Ellis Island. Has anybody been to the Ellis Island Museum? Yes. Not everybody did, but many did. And what was it like? As you walk through here, you'll see on here's this side, there's a map of where people were coming from. Yeah, I want to go again. Okay. Sorry? Because there were a lot of the Russian Empire, a number of refugees, and also because they were having a very tough time. So, and actually some of them were held by what he called pogroms. There were actual massacres as well. Not only, but that's for some. Some was just extreme poverty, for something better, and for some it was fear. So this woman who I'm going to follow, her arrives, and she is in front of the immigration officer, and the first thing they're going to ask her is, "What's your name?" And she says, "Chava Brucha Bein." Now, how is the immigration officer going to react to that?
How do I spell that?
Yeah, how do you even begin to write that down? So I think it's just a sort of an immediate illustration of that feeling of being an immigrant. She had to learn quite quickly. She changed the name to Eva, so she becomes Eva Bein. Okay, they didn't change it. That was her experience. Then they're going to say, "Where's your papers?" Right? And here it is over here. You won't all be able to look, but if you're close by, tell me what you think that their reaction would be to looking at that passport. Does that help at all to the immigration officer? Not a clue. It's written in Cyrillic. So, so the second that you arrive in the new country, you are faced with all these challenges. Now, there are people who can translate, but there's also difficult questions. Here we have some examples if you want to circle back, but I'm not going to stop with the audio visuals right now. They would ask you, they would try and check if you're healthy. They're going to be looking especially for trachoma. They look at the eyes. That's one big question. Another one is going to be about where you live. What work do you have? And nobody would have work, but they might have had opportunities. Here, I'll point this out as well, that they're going to look at this. This is the paper. Somebody is being told that they're being vaccinated, disinfected, and vermin-free. It gives you an idea of what the concerns were, and as we are dealing, have dealt with maybe with COVID, we're more familiar with that than perhaps a generation ago were. So people are coming for many
You
reasons.
probably won't be familiar with the format.
Yes.
Right.
Have you got these? Have you
Yes.
got contact with them?
Yes.
Are you carrying it? So you can-
Yes,
Of
exactly.
course you do, if you will.
I do, yes. And I've immigrated here twice, so that's another story in itself. Yeah, here's this story of the Kishinev massacre, which is one of the people on this here. Now, and Eva would be asked what she could do. Well, I can tell you that here we have an example of what she did on the ship. She actually was embroidering. This was how she kept herself busy. I know her granddaughter, and it was her, and she tells me that it was her aunt who gave all this to the museum, so we can use this as an example. And this is one of these classical pictures too. Eva there, she was 7. She arrived here at 17. She's 17. She's on her own. She has uncles and a brother here, much older than her, of course, but she comes on her own. This is going to be relevant to me. How were they welcome? How were they welcome? Mixed bag. So you have this organization, then see the sheltering wings, known as the Hebrew Sheltering Immigration Aid Society. Today we know it as HIAS. I wrote the HIAS too. And HIAS brings in all kinds of immigrants and helps immigrants. But at the time, they were helping the Jewish immigrants. And they would help them with food and whether they could get kosher food or if that's what they needed and where they could go and so on. But there was also a new organization called the National Council of Women. They sent people to literally stand there as people came in to look for young women on their own, to protect them. Because there were a lot of people who were taking advantage. We've got a job for you. Yeah. So they were protecting people like me, young girls coming in. And I relate to that because my grandmother came from Poland. She actually came to London. I don't think anybody ever intended to come to London, but I suspect they either ran out of money or I believe someone would tell, oh, this is New York. So she arrived on her own at 17. And so I can relate to Eva's story. On the other side, though, that's all the welcoming. But here, this is important. There's this poster of the time, which is looking at the fact that the immigration patterns changed. In the earlier days, they were coming from England, Scotland, Ireland, Germany, Norway, Sweden, and so on. Largely literate, progressive Protestant. The later arrivals, starting to come a bit later, Italy, Russia, Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Greece, Japan, China, largely uneducated, backward, unchristian. Do we want these people? Are they